Welcome to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast. And you're very welcome back to the Hawkeye Sidekick hurling podcast with your host Mark Kennedy, joined again this week by Ruairi Walsh, and we're delighted and honoured to have Walter Walsh, Kilkenny hurling, a great legend, on the show. Walter, how are things? Thanks for coming on.
All good, Mark. Yeah, can't complain, although it wasn't the best weekend for Kilkenny hurling, but delighted to be on here with you.
Lovely, Walter. How's the club going for you this year? I know you mentioned off air there that you had the county football final there a few weeks ago, but the hurling season's picking up pace as well.
Yeah, so we only played our first hurling kind of Burn Cup game. We only played that Saturday evening and we beat Glenmore, which are their local rivals. They were missing a few lads with the county panel and so on. So Owen Murphy and Shane Murphy and the like. So we were able to, we got the one up on them anyway in their backyard. So that was nice. And the week before that, then we played the senior county final football. And I suppose one of our neighbours, Mullavat, pipped us. Well, they didn't pip us. They bet us by 7 points. They were much better on the night. But it was our first ever senior football final since 1962, and my grandfather actually played that day. They won that day in 1962. So yeah, it was just a pity we didn't get over the line. We've won junior, I think, back in 2016, and then we won intermediate in 2018, and we've been senior since, really. But I haven't got to play much since then because it was always played this time of the year. Well, since the condensed season, they've played off the football championship this time of the year. But no, I really enjoyed it. The new rules are really enjoyable to play. You know, it's I was trying to get myself as one of the top three there that couldn't run back after a defender because I wasn't allowed. So that was where I was trying to pitch myself more often than not. But no, I really enjoyed it. The new rules make it just a better game to play, and obviously as a spectacle to watch as well.
Yeah, no, plenty of possessions for you there, Walter, and no doubt on the area battles anyway. But thanks for coming on anyway. I suppose this week anyway, Rory and Walter, we'll look at the Leinster Senior Championship Round 3, also Munster included a Round 3 fixtures in Walsh Park. Also, we'll have a look at Round 4 for Leinster and Munster. If we do have time, we'll look at Joe McDonagh and also the Under-20 provincial semi-finals in Munster and Leinster hotting up there as well. So plenty to look forward to. I suppose, Walter, we'll start from the start. I suppose Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, Tullamore yesterday, Kilkenny travelling to Offaly. I know we had Dee O'Connor on here a few weeks ago, Walter, and he was really really positive about Offaly. I suppose get your impressions of this 121 to 24 points draw for both sides.
Yeah, like Offaly have 6 very, very good forwards, so they're always in with a chance, and we saw that against Dublin a couple of weeks ago. Now, saying that, before the game, I was on another podcast on Friday doing a bit of a preview, and I felt that Kilkenny would win maybe 7, 8 points, kind of with relative ease. But I did think that their backs would be tested like they haven't been tested, obviously, against Wexford. Like, there was going to be a much tougher task. And look, I wasn't at the game, but you would be disappointed because you just see Offaly in the league, especially, like, they got hammered in nearly every game. Bar, I suppose, the opening game against Kilkenny, but like Kilkenny bet them convincingly as well. So in that regard, you would have to be just really disappointed with a draw against Offaly. I know it was up there in Tullamore, but like, if Kilkenny want to be competing for All Irelands, they have to be beating Offaly convincingly, and I think that was what was disappointing. But look, in terms of the Leinster Championship and it being competitive, it's obviously better for the neutrals because now the whole thing is blown wide open. Like, Kilkenny are under serious pressure now to qualify. They have to beat Kildare, which you would imagine they would beat Kildare, but then they have to go to Parnell Park to win that last game. I thought previously, before yesterday, I thought that would be kind of like a Leinster semi-final game, and whoever wins it plays Galway in the final. But now it's a do or die situation because I do fancy Offaly to beat Wexford, and then I do fancy Offaly to beat Kildare in their last game. So Offaly will probably end up on 6 points. You would imagine both Dublin and Kilkenny will be on 5 points going into that last game. So it becomes really, really important that Kilkenny get a draw. Well, they need to win both the last 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely, Walter. And I suppose, like, first half wise, I mean, there was a strong breeze in Tullamore from what I could hear from the match reports, because unfortunately it wasn't really televised live here, which is probably another talking point. But I mean, from a Kilkenny perspective, good opening start, but the wide count probably was a bit of a worry, Walter, early on here. 12 wides out of 16 being shot in that first half, and a little bit of inaccuracy there, both in place balls and in open play.
Yeah, it is, and it's not something associated with TJ as well as those wides. He's usually a 9 out of 10 free taker from place balls and obviously from play. So yeah, there was missed opportunities, and it just kept Offaly obviously in the game. And then, I suppose coming up the last couple of minutes, Offaly were 3 points ahead. So Kilkenny did well to get ahead, but yeah, just maybe a draw was a fair result. You can't be expecting to be that inaccurate and to be winning these games. So look, there is obviously plenty for Kilkenny to work on. But look, it's not necessarily like Championship hurling. They have to win these games, and they're not just getting to Leinster final at their ease like we have done over the last number of years since the round robin come in. Or especially since COVID, we've got them with relative ease as well. So yeah, look, you'd be concerned. I think after the Wexford game, there was a bit of optimism around the place here in Kilkenny, beating Wexford convincingly, and then it was just brought back to the feeling of Galway, that the Salt Hill games as well. So yeah, look, we'll know where we're at. Like if we don't qualify for Leinster, we're not good enough now at this stage. If we're not able to beat Kildare and Dublin, maybe we don't deserve to come out of Leinster. And I suppose Parnell Park has been a fortress for Dublin over the years against other opposition, but not against Kilkenny. I don't think Kilkenny have ever lost up in Parnell Park in the league or championship. Well, I certainly haven't, and I've been there many times with Kilkenny as well. They've got some good results against Wexford and particularly Galway up in Parnell Park, but Kilkenny shouldn't fear going up there. And like, we've a really good record against Dublin, especially in Parnell Park as well. So we shouldn't fear that or think that we can't get to the Leinster final, because we certainly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory, get you in there, I suppose, get your impressions of this draw. I mean, as Walter said, it's really thrown the cattle among the pigeons in Leinster.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I know you touched on it, Mark, but the fact that like we couldn't actually see this game on either format on TV or online or on online streaming service was a bit crazy, like, because Galway and Kildare was shown on GA Plus or whatever it's called now the day before, and I thought the whole idea of GA Plus was it was going to broadcast games that normally wouldn't be shown on TV. That's how they were selling it anyway. And like, but after Offaly's performance against Dublin, you could tell like at a home game they were going to try everything at Kilkenny, and it was probably their one chance to get into the top three, was getting something out of the game. So it was just mad like that. All we saw this game was a 3-minute snippet, I think, last night on Sunday game. So look, you're judging off reports and what you heard, and I was listening to it on Kilkenny radio as well. Great thing about technology, you can tune into any radio station in the country. And it was fierce exciting. But one thing that came across on the radio as well was just the amount of opportunities, as Walter said, Kilkenny were missing. And it looked like Cian Kenny was the main man, Walter. Every time Offaly seemed to score, he was the guy responding. And it sounded like he must have got 5 or 6 from play. And he's become a real leader in that team. And I think it was important with TJ having an off day that somebody stepped up. And, it sounds like that, Cian Kenny is kind of taking the mantle there. And just going forward as well. Go on, sorry, Walter.
Yeah, so Cian has been absolutely excellent. The last 3 years, like, he's been a top performer. Like, he's so skillful. He has everything. He's just, obviously he's incredibly fit. He's just, no matter who is on him or if he's mean man marked, he still looks for every ball. He's great confidence, and he is a real leader on that Kilkenny team. And he plays centre back with his club, James Stevens. He played midfield over the last couple of years, and he can play centre forward. He's just one of these guys who can play anywhere, because hurling is a game of skill, and he has it in abundance as well. So he's really after stepping up, and he's become one of the best hurlers in Ireland, really. He's in the top 20 hurlers. If you pick top 20 hurlers in Ireland, he's definitely in it. And he's so important to Kilkenny.
Yeah, and like he'd be on our Olympic team, Walter, if we ever had one. But anyway, yeah, look, and with Mullen coming back, I think it's important that in personnel, and there is talk that he might be back for the Dublin match, because Kilkenny do need to get their act together, because, like, let's say that's 2 performances now. I know a couple of years ago they used to get away with the odd, like there was the Carlow one a couple of years ago and so on, but it was always just the one performance that was below par. Like now there's 2 out of 3 up in Salt Hill and up in Tullamore. So, you know, Derek Ling will be hoping like that's the end of it now and pushing on from the Dublin game to come, which is absolutely crucial now because, as you said, you'd fancy Offaly to win out their last 2 games. You know, it's going to come down to this Dublin-Kilkenny game will be a knockout match then, more or less, won't it? So, especially for a Kilkenny point of view, after dropping now in 2 matches, dropping points. So, yeah, look, I just think that is the one for Kilkenny, and it could, if they go up there and do beat Dublin Parnell Park, like that could kind of ignite their season because they do need a spark, like, don't they? And I think as well the Wexford game, like Wexford are so off it this year, like that even, you know, putting Wexford to the sword, a false sense of, you know, that they were back where they thought they were when, you know, it was hard to tell, I presume, because Wexford were so poor. It still at the end of it, like Offaly had the breeze, they had the home crowd and everything, but Kilkenny still were the ones, you know, that got the lead in injury time. It was that dodgy 65 or whatever at the end. No, my view of this, like, and look, TV was inconclusive, right? But the umpire was the guy closest who had the best view, and he waved it wide. And I don't know how Johnny Murphy could then come in and they have a conversation and he decides it's then a 65. Do you know, if it was like you're looking at who had the best view of it, and he was the guy closest to it. So it is a contentious one. But as you said, look, there was probably enough chances missed before that anyway. Look, as I said, it was Offaly that needed to equalise at the end. So Kilkenny there was still a bit of doggedness there or whatever, despite being completely, you know, below what you'd normally expect of a Kilkenny team. But Offaly, as you said, like they've serious forwards like Dan Burke, just from the snippets on the radio, like he seemed to be the main threat all the time. And the fact that they were missing Screeney and still, you know, had a real forward threat. And I presume with Charlie Mitchell, we wish him well. Just reading today, you know, he'd go through procedure there yesterday evening and seems all went well. But you're hoping that from an Offaly point of view that they do get Screeney back in there, because without the 2 of them, they're probably going to be a bit light up there. You know, I know they were able to start Owen Cahill, who with freeze wise was exceptional. If Kilkenny were missing him, I think he was scoring everything, Walter. But at the same time, I think they're going to need Screeney back now if Mitchell is going to be. It's hard to see him turning around in 6 days, isn't it? So hopefully, from an Offaly point of view, they will have Screeney back for Saturday, because that's now a massive game. And again, like Wexford as well, will probably be taking umbrage that they're being written off against Offaly when they'd have, you know, had beaten of Offaly for the last 20, 25 years or so. So look, I'm sure they'll be coming up to Tullamore and they won't be rolling over either.
Yeah, Walter, just get you in that second half performance of Kilkenny. I think Rory did some up with a strong breeze, only a point ahead. Thought there was plenty of resilience there, Walter. I mean, obviously they acknowledged the shooting difficulties, but again, there was a few bursts from Offaly going 3 points up, 4 points up, different intervals. But Kilkenny kind of fought their way back into this. And I mean, for Derek Ling and management, I suppose there is some positives coming out of that second half performance, despite the controversial ending here in terms of 65 and maybe the 1 minute or 2 minutes played overtime and injury time.
Yeah, I think it's important that Kilkenny don't make excuses over like the 65. Like that's only one decision. Like I wasn't at the match, but I was listening to it. But the free that Kilkenny scored was meant to be a soft enough free by all accounts, as well. So you don't want to just focus on that. And I did hear that it was the umpire said it was a wide ball, and I don't know what Johnny Murphy just decided to give the 65. Maybe the home crowd got on top of him, but you can't just look at that one instance. Like Kilkenny, you know, obviously look, they battled back hard, but they shouldn't have been in that position, and that's what's disappointing. And look, Offaly are a common team. They've young players, good forwards. Good team. I don't want to just single out the forwards. There's some great performances all around the field for Offaly. But yeah, look, you just be expecting a bit more. It's just if you want to be contending for an All Ireland, and that's where I suppose Kilkenny are measured and have always been measured on All Irelands. And I just think if any of the Munster teams were playing Offaly, they would have beat them convincingly, and or even Galway like they had done as well. Like so. I think that's where we need to kind of measure ourselves up. Look, saying that too, we could ignite a game against Dublin. We beat Kildare, beat Dublin. That could ignite a season. But like you said, it's good to have Adrian Mullen back. He played a match with the club last Friday night. I'm not sure that he played all of the match, but he got some hurling in. So they'll be keen to get him back on the field, because like he's had some some really he's the last 3 or 4 seasons he's been just injury after injury after injury. So I'd be interested to see how he comes back into it and what impact he has on the team. Like, he's an incredible talent, but like, you know yourself, if you're not hurling, like, it's hard to be at that level. I think he will be, because I think he's an incredible player, but it'd be interesting to see like how fit he is, or like, he's always been very, very fit in terms of training. Fitness says he'd be up the top. I used to be always down the back looking up at him, but like, that's where Adrian is capable of being, like, one of Kilkenny's best players. But it's been tough on him with injuries, so we can't be expecting him to come back and don't win a game for us. But he can definitely contribute.
I think Jordan Malloy actually got injured at the weekend. Someone said he left the ground in a boot or something. So yeah, that's another thing to worry about.
Yeah, that's it. Like, Jordan's been very good as well as Kilkenny. Two of them kind of partnered up well throughout the league in midfield, I thought, but I know Keane is playing a bit more centre forward kind of a role. But yeah, like, he's a massive loss as well. Like, he was going to be playing midfield for the year for Kilkenny, and like, it's hard to know. I see Fiona McAsey came on then as well, so he might get a bit more of an opportunity as well. He's been injured a bit, like, he hasn't played a whole lot with Kilkenny this year as well. So yeah, it's hard to know. Harry Shine, I know, is back trained as well. He's come back from a cruciate ligament. He's someone who I think is, he's very talented. He's obviously, he's been out for the last year with an injury, but we could see him feature in the last 2 games as well, and maybe against Kildare, giving him a chance to start, just to try and build him back, because I know some of the subs made an impact when they come on, but I think the likes of Harry Shine and Adrian Mull, they're 2 really promising forwards that Kilkenny need to see. And like, Adrian can play midfield as well. He can play anywhere. It might give him a bit more freedom as well if he was playing midfield, if they needed to put someone in there with the absence of Jordan Malloy. But look, you'd be just hoping that there's a big improvement for the Kildare game, and everyone's fit for the Dublin game.
No, absolutely. Well said, Walter. And I mean, opportunity knocks, as you say, for the panel there, Walter, for sure. And we'll preview the Kildare game in due course. I suppose we'll move on to Chadwick's Park, Wexford. That was the RTE offering on Saturday afternoon. And I suppose, Rory, I know our regular contributor, Kieran Collins, who'll be based in Wexford, was at the match anyway. And look, there was with the wind, short puckouts were the detriment of Wexford. But I suppose get your reaction here to this 21 to 22 point win for Dublin. That kind of sends Wexford pretty much on the brink of Leinster Senior Hurling Championship exit.
Oh, yeah, it was one of those kind of funny games that never really caught fire, did it? I didn't think Dublin were all that impressive either. They got the kind of fortunate goal, you could say a mistake by Fanny. Now, he made 2 outstanding saves after that to kind of, made up for it in a way. But I know Dublin got some nice scores at times, and I think the big plus for Dublin was Donald, where he was pre-injury, looked really sharp, and it's kind of adding in with the scoring to Cian O'Sullivan, because you felt there was a good bit of responsibility on Cian O'Sullivan to get a lot of the scoring from play. But if Burke's in this form, it's a good sign for them. Liam Rush as well at centre back, looked to slot back in there, and it looks very kind of fast and fit for his age, very kind of light in his feet for a big man at centre back. But so they were the positives for Dublin. But overall, their performance, again, like they were kind of tough and dogged, as opposed to, I suppose we keep thinking back to that performance against Limerick in the All-Ireland quarter-final, where they showed a bit more kind of skill and class, and that has been kind of missing in their Leinster Championship so far. And that said, like they're motoring along fine. Yeah, I just think they haven't really caught fire yet either. And in this game, like I think Wexford, that third quarter where they had the breeze and just were so wasteful, that was their chance to close the gap. And it was only in the last couple of minutes, and again, it was a couple of scores near the end that kind of maybe got the crowd going. I think Jack O'Connor caught a puck out, threw one over straight over, and but still Dublin kind of answered that with a point themselves. So that was the closest they came, and Wexford were a bit like that. I think in the league they had to go up to Ennis and win to stay into to have a chance of getting to the League 1B final. And same thing, like they were kind of going along 7-8 points behind, and then as it came to injury time, they tapped on a few scores, and suddenly there was a bit of excitement, but kind of reminded me of that. So yeah, look, Wexford, it's been a poor championship for them. They obviously, the likes of Ruairi O'Connor missing and stuff, they just don't have the depth at the minute in the squad there, especially up front. And yeah, it was, I think it's 6 wins in a row now for Dublin, and I presume that they were just, job done. Get down there, go down to Wexford Park, get your win and get out of there. And in fairness, they did that. As I said, not overly impressive either, Dublin, but they did what they had to do. And I'm sure that it'll going away on Saturday evening.
Yeah, Walter, get you in there. I suppose get your reaction to that Dublin win over Wexford.
Yeah, it's Wexford have been really disappointing. Just even down Western Park, I know from going down there, especially towards the end of my career, it was really hard to get a win. But they just don't have the same quality of forwards, really. Or like you think it likes of like who's been retired or who's gone from their teams that were, I suppose, won Leinster in 2019 as well. Like you've likes of Conor MacDonald, Matt O'Hanlon, Diarmuid O'Keefe, you've Sean Murphy. Like there's Liam McGovern, like there's a load of players there that were like pivotal to that team as well, and obviously you had Leach in there as well. But Leach in had a lot more support around him. It's just, and obviously Ruairi O'Connor I think Ruairi O'Connor is one of the best players in Ireland. Like he's a massive loss as well. So they're just haven't got the depth. Some of their underage players are coming. There's a lad called Sean O'Brien. I was teaching in Glasgow College in New Ross up until last year, and he's on the minor team. He's 18 now, so he's on the under 20s team. But he's a real promising player. But he actually can't play with the Wexford seniors this year because he's still under 18. But I think he'd be playing. He's a great player. They need lads like that coming to help Leach in, but obviously you can't be relying on an 18-year-old. But they just don't have the scoring threat. They don't have it up there like they had when they were beating us below in Wexford Park, and they had some good days against Clare as well in the championship as well. Some great battles there as well. But now they haven't got the scoring threat. Like I think I can't see them even beating Offaly, and definitely not beating Galway in that last game unless it's a dead rubber game for Galway and they play their second team just to give their players a break. So yeah, I just think they're way off it. But in saying all that, if they get a result against Offaly, the whole dynamic changes. And just say Galway beat Dublin and Galway play a second string team, like Wexford could find themselves out of Leinster, which is mad to think of right now with their performances. But that they're still in the hunt as well, which we wouldn't have thought they would be. But that's, I suppose, the beauty of the round robin, really. So I suppose that draw with Offaly and Kilkenny is kind of after blowing the whole thing wide open. And yeah, they do. Obviously, they're going to be hoping to beat Offaly, and then who knows after that, really. And yeah, look, there's still something to play for them, but I think they're way off it. I could see some of the Munster teams. I need the 3 Munster teams that get out if they play Wexford. Or you could argue some of the other Leinster teams, but they blow them out of the water.
Rory, get you back in there. I suppose, look, goals win games, and Dublin were pretty clinical in that first half. But again, they were helped in no small measure by Wexford as well, particularly in the opening goal anyway, for David Purcell. And also Cian O'Sullivan right in the stroke of half-time, really opening up that gap to 10 points, I suppose. Get your thoughts on those 2 goals.
Yeah, look, and as you said, the first goal was actually very soft goal, and the other one came from an interception. And I saw, apart from the goals, Wexford gave 15 points to Dublin directly off turnovers, and that's kind of, it's a bit mad, and just shows kind of a sloppiness and errors, and you get punished at this level, and Dublin have the players to punish errors like that as they showed. So yeah, at home you have to be. Probably as well shows a lack of confidence in what you're doing. If you're that bit off and confidence isn't there, you're under hitting passes and things are getting intercepted and you're getting turned over a lot. And also as well, and it was commented by someone who was down there, is just the difference of physicality between 2 teams. That Wexford have a lot of guys, and I presume it's true. No fault to Keith Rossiter. They're kind of he's a team in transition, and a lot of the guys who are coming in just have Dublin are they're pretty seasoned outfit, And I think that was kind of, on show as well. But yeah, it was not just giving away the turnovers, but just Wexford. I think they had 46% scoring from play was their shooting average. And when you're at home and there's a breeze there, that should be your advantage in that you're kind of, it's a consistent breeze on Wexford Park. Now, I know this last weekend, we've had an orderly breeze instead, but still you're kind of more used to the conditions when it is breezy down there than the opposition, and to, you know, come out with a far less shooting percentage is, you know, you're giving yourself a less chance of winning the game. So look, as Walter said, there is that weird scenario where they could still be in there, but that would require them going up to Tullamore and winning at the weekend. And based on form, what we've seen in the 3 games so far, that's really hard to see happen. Now, anything can happen. And if Offaly have, you know, those injuries we spoke about, it's going to give Wexford, you know, a bit more of a chance in it. But it's mad, like before the championship started and everything, you'd be giving Wexford every chance, and this game is 50-50. But just how it's panning out, it's hard to see them picking themselves up off the floor and going up there and getting a win. Whereas Offaly are a bit buoyant now, and the crowd. And it's just one thing I kind of noticed is I was disappointed with, you know, with the crowd when they showed it and the Sunday game, the highlights of it. Like Offaly, like this is their team that they were filling out O'Connor Park when they were under 20, and now they're senior, and the crowd don't seem to be going. And the fact it wasn't on TV or anything, you'd have thought, oh, like didn't even fill the stand over the far side. Now I know a lot of Offaly people go to the terrace side, which you couldn't see on camera, but you know, I think they really need to get behind this team now that they have a chance of getting to the top 3, and the Wexford game is pivotal for them. Like if they don't beat Wexford, they're gone really, and then you'll have, if Wexford beat them, you'll have Kildare eyeing them up in the last game, because if Kildare beat Offaly, they will have them in a head-to-head. Because Offaly, remember, is still only 2 points on the board, despite, you know, their 2 good performances against Dublin and Kilkenny. So look, it's mad at both ends of it. Like, but yeah, this weekend is a pivotal one, and this is the one where we'll get to see exactly whether Offaly are going to be pushing for qualifying out of Leinster, or whether they're going to be looking over their shoulder at the Kildare game.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, we can probably review all those games in due course, I suppose. From a Wexford perspective, Lee Chin scored 14 points, 9 from play from Wexford, kind of told tail of the tape. Dublin had 8 scores, Donald Burke chipping in with 15 points. So, as you said, probably a workmanlike performance from Dublin to get it over the line. I suppose, Walter, Joanne Campbell was getting very excited on Saturday afternoon at the start of that coverage, when news was relaying back in St. Conduit's Park regarding Kildare's strong opening half showing against Galway, and based in Galway, I was getting a few WhatsApp messages saying, what the hell's going on here? Galway eventually steadied the ship, went for 3 for 3. I suppose get your reaction to this Galway 422-122 win over a gallant Kildare side.
Yeah, look, there was a strong breeze in the first half. Like I was actually playing a club game myself, and we just got it. It was at 5 o'clock. They were playing Saturday evening, so it was in between the games. But I was able to look back at them. But before we were talking now, we were saying, cheer Kildare beating Galway by 12 points. Like that was before half time, and it was just mad to think. But there was a strong breeze there. But it just shows you the progress Kildare have made. I watched the Kildare Wexford game, and the opening game, and Kildare they went in level. Kildare should have been ahead of them. They drove, I think it was 9 wides to 4. Wexford scored 10 frees to Wexford's 4, Wexford scored 10 frees to Kildare's 4 and throughout the whole match. Like it was like they won by 8 points in the end. And as well as that, in the second half, the Kildare goalie, Paddy McKenna, he struck 3 balls to the Wexford half forward line, and they hit him straight over the bar, like 2 of those to Lee Chin as well. So they actually, like, they made some critical errors that was the difference. I actually thought Kildare were much better than them, and they should have went in much more ahead. Jack Sheridan had a chance of a goal, just barely blazed over, like from 5 yards, and like Kildare are after making like serious progress. And I'm not just saying that because there's a Kilkenny man over in Brian Dowland, but they're a real success story, and we saw it with Naas and the success they've had. Like they've been very competitive in Leinster as well, and at club level. So like there's like Kildare have their team I'm following, and I want to see do well. Now, obviously Galway steadied the ship. You know, they had the breeze in the second half, and bar a few, like a mistake for a goal and a few things like that, a few like small mistakes, that's what cost Kildare and left Galway back into that game as well. So yes, everyone was hoping for the underdog to win in Kildare, but Galway really steadied the ship, and as well as that, like Galway were able to rest up Rabbit and Nyland as well, who were playing under 20 on Wednesday night. So look, they weren't at full strength, but it just shows you the progress Kildare have made.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory, get you in there as well. I mean, Micheál O'Donoghue made 4 changes to the side from the Offaly encounter, and to be fair, at half-time, there's probably a good test for Galway. But looking at Tom Monaghan's performance, he came on for Malloy. scores the 1-4. Conor Whelan again prominent. So Micheál O'Donoghue and management will be delighted in terms of how the game went, particularly in the last 10 minutes when it was in the melting pot.
And I think you'd be delighted that they got a bit of a kick up the arse as well, because like this is kind of Galway have this in them. I think a couple of years ago they played Dublin up in Croke Park, and I think it was the last round in the round robin, and they were at one stage I think they were down 14 or 15 points. They had an absolute no-show in the first half, and sometimes I don't know. I think they and this sounds mad, like, because it's still only a round robin stage, but a couple of big performances, and they kind of like, I don't know, is it a cockiness, or they just kind of take their eye off the ball a bit and just think everything is cruising along, and they can be, you know, sometimes caught like this. Yeah, and look, at half time when we were, the WhatsApps are flying around with screenshots of the scores, and you're just thinking Kildare going to need goals against the Breeze in the second half, and unfortunately, you know, it's just one thing, you know, that they couldn't really get those goals in Galway. Like, I think Tom Annan came on and had a goal scored after a few seconds, like, so talk about an impact. It's good to see Kildare doing that, like, that they're capable of taking their lead in the round robin to leading them by 12 points and 10 at half time. You know, and as Walter said, they're probably the one team that from Joe McDonough that have, you know, really look like they're on the way up, because you'd have to worry about the likes of Antrim and like even Laois and so on. And we'd Kerry there who were in Joe McDonough finals just a couple of years ago, dropped down to Christy Ring. Now it looks like they're going to bounce straight back up, but like there is real worry out there for kind of the tier 2 counties and to where they're going. But Kildare seem to be bucking the trend. Yeah, there's some valid questions as to, you know, does it do Kildare any good to be back down in Joe McDonough next year when they've shown that they're kind of closing the gap by playing against the bigger counties? But I suppose that's another question for the higher authorities in the GAA as to what their plan is for, you know, these tier 2 counties. But yeah, look, in terms of Galway, they did react at half time. You know, I'd say there was a few choice words in the dressing room to get a reaction, and in fairness, the players did that, and like the goal straight away, like cut through that gap. And look, they are ticking along nicely, and they're probably, you know, they're real favourites now for Leinster title, and they're probably looking on at the turmoil that's gone on below them in the table. 3 wins are probably slightly out of that at the minute. Although, yeah, it's hard to say. I think probably be good enough for them to get through at this stage, wouldn't it? 6 points, they'll probably get through in third anyway, even if they were to lose their last 2 games, which is hard to see with you know, Wexford kind of coming on the horizon, with the poor form Wexford are in. You'd fancy them getting the fourth, unless, as you said, Walter, like they're already through and they start to, you know, mess around with team selection and so on. But yeah, look, they are probably looking at from last year to this year the most improved team, Galway, and obviously Kildare as well. But Galway, like last year, the way they failed to perform against Tipperary in the Ireland quarter final, it was, you know, pitiful performance, really, like no fight whatsoever. And this year there seems to be a real kind of a buzz about Galway and a zip about what they're at, and seem to be going the right way. But it's still early days.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, credit to Kildare here. I mean, like last week in the podcast, we really didn't preview it in any great detail, but fair play to Kildare, really, to a man, really kind of produce a good performance. But Mersh Curtin, particularly in that opening half, his movement was outstanding inside full forward line. Moorfield, clubman, scoring 1-3. Again, there was some marvellous long-range points from likes of Keegan. Again, Jack Sheridan, absolutely razor sharp on the frees. But again, you know, this game was down to the melting pot with 10 minutes to go. So look, credit to Kildare, scoring 119 from play. Galway, again, 11 different scorers here. But again, as you say, Rory, maybe get a kick up the backside heading into this kind of pivotal home run that they do have. Suppose, guys, can we get predictions in round 4? We have Galway versus Dublin and Salt Hill. Kilkenny entertaining Kildare, and Offaly Wexford. I suppose, Walter, get your predictions here.
Yeah, I think Galway will win in Salt Hill. I think they're incredibly difficult to beat up there as well. So I just think they'll have too much for the Dubs. Kilkenny, I think, will be Kildare. I think we will see a big reaction from Kilkenny, and I think we will win convincingly on that game as well. And then the Wexford and Offaly game, I'm going to go with Offaly. I think this will be a close game. I think Wexford will raise it a bit because they're fighting for their lives essentially now, and there is a chance that they can get through. So this is it. This is their season is going to be defined after this game. So I think we'll see a big reaction from Wexford. I think we'd see a big support for Wexford as well. And it's funny you mentioned, Rory, there as well about the crowd in Tullamore yesterday. I thought the same, and from talking to a few people, there was a decent support there for Kilkenny. Like, we're not the best supporters, but there was decent support there from Kilkenny, and I thought the same thing. I was like, a couple of years ago, if that was the under-20s team, who most of this team is made up of, the stands would have been full. It's just that I think there was such hope that they could win an All-Ireland final, and obviously there's not the same belief in this team, and which is understandable after their league campaign as well. But you would imagine there'd have to be a buzz around the county after that performance against Kilkenny. And look, maybe if the stands were full with Offaly supporters, they might have got over the line against Kilkenny, and that could be the difference between beating Wexford, because Wexford are good supporters even when they're not going as well. So I think that's the standout game of the weekend, and I think Offaly will pip them.
Absolutely. Rory, over to you. Predictions for Leinster round 4?
Yeah, I'd agree, Walter, with the Kilkenny game. Wexford, Offaly, yeah, I think the home advantage is a big one for Offaly. They have performed at home in both their games. Look, it probably there's a bit of who do they have on the pitch as well. You'd have to presume Charlie Mitchell, it's too soon for him. Adam Screeney, Johnny Kelly wasn't writing them off. He was saying they were going to fitness test him during the week, and it sounded like, it was a 50-50 whether he'd be back or not. I think that'd be a big difference as well. And yeah, Wexford have to come with something. But you just Dublin, as you know, like Dublin are probably the team who have beaten Galway more times than not in round robin. But yeah, Salthill is a factor. I think it was a couple of years ago, Galway the man sent off early in the game in Salthill that kind of sealed their fate. But this year there's a difference about them. I think Dublin now, it's a big one for Dublin because as I was saying, they have been tipping along, but they haven't performed as maybe I was expecting them to. And this is a chance they can go to Salthill and get a win. It's a real boost for where they're going this year, because Dublin have serious ambitions this year. They do seem a bit open. They have been opened at the back. I know in the league final first half, Clare opened them up a lot, and there was goal chances galore. And if there's any team to do that, it's Galway. The way they're going at the minute seem to be creating a lot of goal chances, and probably will just have enough. It could be a bit of a shootout up there, but you'd fancy Galway by a couple of points.
Tending to agree with both of you here, guys. I mean, Galway Dublin for me is more intriguing just to see what sort of level of performance Galway do produce against Dublin, because sometimes they've found it very difficult against the physicality of that middle turf for Dublin particularly. I do agree with you, Walter. I think we will see a reaction from Kilkenny here. And I mean, I'd say something if they weren't creating the shooting opportunities against Offaly, particularly yesterday in open play. So look, I think there's a bounce back there, certainly from Kilkenny, probably a heavy win there. And then Offaly Wexford, look, I can't see a turnaround from Wexford really after that performance. I mean, such a pivotal game in the season for Wexford at home against Dublin. I just felt that they completely underperformed. And look, I think for Offaly, optimism. Again, hopefully we wish Charlie Mitchell well, but again, Screening needs to come back in here. But again, Owen Cahill has really provided good opportunity moments here against Kilkenny. And yeah, I'll edge it Offaly here, and all bets are off then for round 5 then, surely. Guys, we might switch on to Munster. Round 3 concluded on Saturday night in Walsh Park. It was the offering on GA+. I suppose, Walter, get your reaction here to this Cork win. 3 from 3. Looks like all certainty here that they're probably into a Munster hurling final. I suppose, have you been impressed by Cork this season?
Yeah, I have. They've serious depth in their panel as well, and without Joyce and Downey as well, like the guys came in and did really well. And there was question marks over Cahill and how he'd go, and especially I thought they fired Stephen Bennett in on him for the game, but obviously he went off injured to really test him. But yeah, I am impressed with him. It's like it's a hard place to go at Walsh Park to get a win, and Waterford aren't that far off it either. And I actually feel sorry for them as well, because they're playing some good games as well. Like they're really competitive, but it looks very like they won't get out of Munster again. But Cork just have so much pace. I think they're all, you have to be a 10 metre per second runner if you're on the Cork team. And just all around the field. Mark Holman was exceptional as well. Brian Hayes obviously as well. Yeah, I just thought they were I always thought they were going to win that game. Even they missed 2 kind of goal chances there at the start of the second half. Brian Hayes actually missed one of them. They were just creating that bit more, and they look more likely to push on and win. But yeah, really impressed with them. You'd be hoping for, well, maybe not there, but a Cork and Limerick Munster finalists looking like that. Obviously, you'd like to see Clare in it as well, but that could be another game to look forward to. It looks like that, but you'd never know in Munster. It's so competitive. But Cork, yeah, they're flying it. They won't be delighted with it.
Absolutely, Rory, get you in there. I suppose this 4-point win for Cork wasn't easy. I suppose first half they were guilty of some wide issues, particularly on shot selection, particularly in that left-hand side of the post. I suppose their black cards probably decisive at the end of it.
Yeah, black cards decisive. The first one, like I was just reading today, you know, Brian Gavin does an old column in the Examiner, and he claimed like that it shouldn't have been a black card, and the fact that Brian Hayes hadn't possession, and in hurling it stipulates the player in possession pulled down. So it is an interesting take on it, because it was definitely a penalty. I know he backs into him, Brian Hayes and everything, but look, Mark Walsh has fallen and drags him down with him. So, or Mark Fitzgerald, sorry, has fallen and drags Walsh or Hayes down with him. Sorry, I'm getting all mixed up here. But anyway, you can understand why you could say it shouldn't be a black card and that he didn't have possession of the ball. And if that is in the rule, well, fair enough. Second one, there was Waterford players back. Like, this is the thing. It's such a grey area now. You're looking at it going, my instinct was, okay, there was Waterford. There was enough cover back from Waterford. Is it a clear goal scoring opportunity? You know, black card given. So that's my problem is like the referees and different referees are interpreting slightly differently. And yeah, because I just thought that second one was a huge blow because they did very well in the first period, like when they were down to 14. And I'm sure like they were kind of buoyant when they were back to 15 that they were, you know, they hadn't let Cork pull away from them. And same thing, second half, like they'd kind of eked ahead and suddenly they're down to 14 again. And it must have been a huge blow for them, as well as the injuries. You know, they had 3 players gone off, Daly, Kenny cornerback, and then losing Bennett was a massive one. And it was interesting, like that Quealy said, like there 3 of them had hamstring issues. So there was 2 hamstring pulls, and then Bennett had a hamstring pull before he hurt his knee. Oh, wow. So, you know, yeah. So when you hear 3 of them, you're wondering, is it bad luck or is there just something in the training or prep when you get 3 out of, like, that's 20% of your starting team, like, to go down with the same injury. The difference was Hayes. Hayes scored 7 points from play. He's nigh on unstoppable, like, which was more than the entire Waterford full forward line combined scored from play. I think Desi had a point from play. Kev Mahoney got some great scores early on in the game. 3 lovely points, but just went completely out of it in second half. And and Sean Walsh again looked threatening at times, but was catching ball, but again just on the scoreboard, like didn't contribute enough, like just a point to contribute as well. So that's where the real difference was, like the threat Cork had inside the scoring threat compared to Waterford. You know, Waterford finals out with Jamie Barron picking off points, and Caleb Lyons got some lovely points from long range, but just they didn't have that same inside threat, I thought, with Bennett gone, that they had in the previous games. And in such tight margins, like it was probably that combined with the 2 black cards, like you know, and you'd have to feel from like and Quealy, because like they've been accused, you know, of, like they're the one team that have never got out of the round robin, and they've been accused sometimes, you know, of just kind of being off it and that, but like every single game, like up in Ennis, you know, even though they came from 8-9 points down in the second half and had that goal chance near the end. Tipperary as well, like led by 2 points, you know, after their horrendous showing in the first half, and then in this game as well, it could easily have gone their way. Had moments gone their way as well. So you'd have to feel sorry for them. And now they're not out of it. There's still a way if results, but they'd have to go and beat Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. So that's probably their only way of getting through. So yeah, that's a hard one to see. Like they're going to be fair down after this game, like, because as I said, they did perform. They saved Cork the whole way, and yeah, you just felt like that they were the ones that needed a goal or two, you know, especially with the home crowd to ignite it. And against Cork, I always feel that you need a couple of goals to beat them. Like it's hard to outscore them on points, you know. So look, it's disappointing for them, and they're probably, as I said, their chances, even though it's still there, it's a very slim chance. And overall, it's going to be a big disappointment there. But at least this year they have performed in each game. Like they haven't had those blowouts that they had in previous years.
Absolutely. Walter, we got you in there, I suppose, round 4 of Munster. Complete landmine of a competition, really. I suppose Saturday night is a key one for Clare and Tipperary, and then, as you say, Rory as well. Waterford making the trip to TUS Gaelic grounds. I suppose get predictions from you there, Walter, on these two fixtures?
The Clare and Tipperary game is in Semple or Ennis?
It would be in
Ireland,
Semple. Yeah, Semple.
Okay, I actually don't know. Like, I think I'm gonna go for a draw on this one. I think it's just gonna throw another spanner in the works. A draw in this game, just with the way things are going. I think it depends. I think Clare are quite vulnerable at the back. They have been. They've been conceding an awful lot. Tipperary, I don't think are near where they were last year. I don't think they know what their best team is. I think there's a lot of chopping and changing. I'm not sure will they be able to exploit the Clare defence like Waterford did, and obviously like Limerick did. So I think this is going to be, I think this is going to be really close. I'm going to go for a draw on this one, just to be a bit different. I'm sure Rory's going to go with Clare, but so I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I think that's going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to that match on Saturday, because it's defining really for both of them. Like, whoever wins it, you'd imagine is going to go through as maybe the third team, if not more the second team. But like, it's a massive game for both.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory got you in there, I suppose. Do you want to put the team talk in for Brian Lohan right now?
Look, it's not good hurling. It's Clare and Tipperary. Funny enough, every time we've gone to Semple Stadium in the round robin, we've won there since it began. So, but they've beaten us up in Ennis, so it's kind of a weird anomaly in the whole thing. Saying that, like, this is a different one, and my worry for Clare is, have we learned now and have we tightened things up at the back? Like, if you're going to have your half back line chasing, the forward around man to man, then you have to have cover. Like, we're doing what your half back line would do if there was a sweeper there. Either you hold your half back line a bit deeper and protect the full back line, and get your half forwards back, picking up the roving half forwards from the other team to help out there and kind of crowd out the middle third. Yeah, you do what Clare we're doing with a sweeper, have some cover back and let your half backs chase the forwards around the place. But we're in between, and it's killing us. Yes, we kind of stabilise the backs. Like, it will be a case of who'll score more, Yeah, that's my worry. If we've learned and we do, like what I would do, and I said it the last day, Mark, I'd put John Conlon in there as a sweeper and play with 5 forwards. And I'm not a big sweeper fan, but at the minute you just have to, we're bleeding goals, and bleeding goal chances. So you have to address that first of all, and then maybe build from there. And even if it's just for the start of the game and then rejig the team, but because Tip just go for goals every time they play Clare. They're just straight out for goals first 20 minutes. So if you can get through that, better forwards than Tipperary overall. Like, Kelly, I thought had a quiet game against Limerick, but Kelly catches fire. O'Donnell, Rogers, there's a serious forward unit there. And against Waterford, they were on song. And now, granted, they were getting a bit more space than you normally would in a Munster Championship game. But again, Thurles as well, there are pockets of space for Clare players to find. And I just think that, if we can tighten up at the back, I do think we have the forwards to win it. But that's a huge if. We haven't done it yet. I thought after the league final we would, going into the Waterford game. I thought after the Waterford game we had to against Limerick with the dangers that they have up front. But still didn't happen. So my question is, if Lohan and management team have learned and rectified that, I think we have a great chance of winning. If they haven't, it's anyone's game. And I think it'd be hard to beat them, actually, if we're going to go man-to-man at the back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, mine is an if. If we go man to man, we'll lose. But if we stabilise things and maybe go to sweeper or even drop the half back line 15 yards further back, if they tighten things up, then I think we'll win. So yeah, if you're looking for a prediction, I'm going to gamble that we've learned something, and I'm going to say Clare to win, but a giant if.
Would I call that emphatic? Clare vote? Probably, to be fair. I'm just intrigued to see what this Tipperary performance is coming from, because I think we've seen nice bits from Tipperary, but the ultimate second half performances have really kind of lacked that kind of composure down the stretch. I do feel with Clare there is a bit of hurt from last year, particularly in Cusack Park when the two teams played this time last year, particularly when Clare were hotly fancied. So look, I don't think Clare can be as bad as they were in Cusack Park. I know I'm a Limerick Ireland fan here, but I think Clare, there has to be a bit of a kick on them, given the critique, given the media criticism on them for the last 2 weeks. I am just very intrigued here. I'm going to go with Clare here. I think there is an awful lot of pockets of space, particularly in this Tipperary backline, that could really kind of expose Tipperary here. I'd go maybe 2 or 3 points here, and I think it might be an early elimination for Tipperary here, unfortunately. I suppose, guys, round 4 does conclude with the TUS Gaelic rounds here. I know Waterford gave Limerick a bit of a lesson in Walsh Park here, Walter, at the start of the year. I think they're well matched up for this Limerick team in terms of physicality. Do you give them a good chance against Limerick on Sunday?
I actually think Waterford are kind of deflated. I think we'll see their worst performance this year. I think Limerick will win at their ease. I think it's just like Waterford. Stephen Bennett's injured. Ian Kenny could be injured as well. There was another player, or Daly's
Daly as well, yeah.
Like that's going to impact the team, and they're after giving it so much that this game, I think I think it'll be their worst performance. I just think Limerick are obviously improving since the Cork beat them as well. I think they just have a serious panel. They have some of the best young players in the country as well, in Shane O'Brien, Adam English, Cottle O'Neill, and Aidan O'Connor. Like, they have 4 of the best young players in the country playing with them as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be a tough ask for Waterford to just gather the troops again and to try and put up another performance. I think they've been unlucky with not to get more from some of the games, but I think this is going to come a week too soon for them, and I think they'll struggle.
Fair enough. Rory, get you in there. Do you give Waterford any chance here on Sunday?
It's hard to see it. It is because everyone's presuming, Limerick are true. Limerick have only 2 points out of 4, as well. And so they have to win this game. They don't want to have it going down to Tipperary the last game, or, anything can happen, because, Tip can be a streaky team as well. Limerick want to get the job done this weekend, and I think they're going to be ruthless about it. And yeah, Waterford, had they got something out of the Cork game, had they beaten Cork, and they're, a bit behind and go and get it grounds, you'd say, with the way Waterford are playing, you'd give them a chance. But yeah, I think the fact that not just the way they lost, but picking up all the injuries along with it, especially to Bennett, who's been their talisman, it's really hard to see Waterford going up there. I just think their forward line now is, it's a bit limited with Bennett gone, and comparing to what Limerick have up front at the other end. It is going to be hard to see, and it's a pity because after the way they came back against Tipperary, you were saying this is Waterford really, and I half fancy him to beat Cork, especially with Cork had the 2 injuries. But the way things have panned out, yeah, you'd have to go with Limerick. And even last year, I was down at the Limerick Waterford game last year, and Limerick were so systematic with how they played against Waterford. Kind of played the ball really sharply through the lines. Cian Lynch was outstanding that day. He's going to be fresh coming back in after his suspension, and now there's serious competition for places after all the boys that come in again. Clare up in Ennis performed so serious competition for places, which is exactly what Kinnerk and Kiley would want. So yeah, I'd fancy Limerick, and same as Walter, I think. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, Limerick, I think by 8 to 10 points. I do. I just see with the forwards they have and Waterford being deflated. Yeah, you'd have to go with them, just delivering a real ruthless performance.
Yeah, the intriguing thing for me would be the team selection, particularly like Aaron Glenn, I think, is ready to go as well. Cian Lynch, but who are you going to drop out of that starting lineup that lined out against Clare? They all played superbly well. I'm thinking like Peter Casey here. I think the intriguing one could be in the full back line as well. Dan Morrissey came in for 10 minutes right at the end, Ennis, and really imposing figure there in the full back line. So look, it's competition for places. I think Limerick will win. I'm hopeful that Waterford will turn up and provide a good spirited performance here like they've always done. Peter Queally managed sides, but as you say, Walter, as well, the morale must be right rock bottom given what happened here last weekend, particularly with the black cards. I'll give it to Limerick here. They know the homestand starts now 2 from 2, and it sets them up nicely for Tipperary. I suppose before we go here, guys, Leinster Munster under 20 hurling championships reaching the semi-final stages. I suppose Walter, Kilkenny playing Dublin, and also Galway playing Wexford. I suppose get your thoughts on these 2 games.
Yeah, I suppose with Henry managing the under 20s, there's a lot of hype around this team, and there's a lot of optimism around it as well. I know Galway are really strong at this level and beat Kilkenny with relatively ease when they were minor, the same age group. But this game against Dublin, I do fancy Kilkenny to win it. It's funny. I know from hurling club and maybe seeing them go through schools hurling as a teacher in Galway College, I would have seen a lot of these players, and we have some players who are in on the senior panel, like I said, Dara Berker, David Barco, you know, they're in on the Kilkenny panel, Ed McDermott as well. So like, I like this Kilkenny under-20 team. I think they have 6 really good forwards that obviously they hammered Offaly. They by a cricket score. I think it was at 5-14 to 2 points at half time or something crazy like that, and they looked really good. Patrick Lacey had 3-5 scored from play, and he was taken off at half time. So like, they've some really good forwards there. So yeah, I think there's a good bit of optimism and a lot of hope about this Kilkenny team, because Henry's the manager as well. Yeah, I would be hoping that they beat Dublin, and I do think Galway will have way too much for Wexford in the other semi as well. So I think it will be a Leinster final between Galway and Kilkenny. That Galway team, obviously with Rabbit and with Nyland, they were rested against Kildare at the weekend, so those lads are coming in fresh, and they'll have a point to prove this week. It's actually Wednesday night as well. So yeah, I think it'll be a Kilkenny and a Galway win, and a nice Leinster final there coming up.
Absolutely. Rory, would you concur with that?
Yeah, look, for the bits and pieces I've seen, Galway and Kilkenny seem to be, you know, that bit ahead of the other teams, and it will make for an intriguing final if they both get there. Yeah, so I concur with what Walter said. But look, semi-finals can be tricky as well, and we know Dublin, they are always at a certain level in minor under-20. Like they're about semi-finals and finals all the time. So you know, you can never underestimate them in that. But I'm sure, you know, Henry Shefflin will, you know, he's experienced enough to make sure that the young lads are on point for it.
And Munster, the under-20 final, plays on Wednesday night. I suppose, Rory, get you in there. Clareman, I suppose we'd have to give it a plug anyway. It's an intriguing final. I think there's a nice rivalry between these two teams, right up the age groups. And so it's going to prove on Wednesday night in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick. I suppose, get your thoughts here in terms of this game.
Yeah, Tip are going for 3 in a row. And last year's final, there was a bit of controversy and another black card incident and so on, and a couple of goal incidents that you know, kind of went Tipperary's way in the night. But Clare won the All-Ireland Minor 3 years ago, and they were kind of stuttering along through Munster a couple of nights when they were at home to Waterford and Limerick, and they kind of just about got over the line without playing very well. But the kind of it all ignited for them down in Cork the first day. Even though they lost, they put up a big score and hurled really well. And then they'd play Cork away again in Páirc Uí Chaoimh last Friday in the semi-final and played their best game. They played outstanding hurling, were 3 points down with 10 minutes to go and scored 1-6 without reply to get them over the line. Like, there's, you know, and Clare probably needed a pick up after the seniors' performance against Limerick, and the under-20s gave it, you know. And yeah, look, they're a good team. That, like, what they have is serious ability to score from distance. Costello midfield, and then you've Fred Hegarty as well back in there. Like, there's just long distance shooters from all over the place for Clare, and it's just something I'm sure Tipperary are aware of. And let's not forget, Tipperary have Oisin O'Donoghue, who's still under 20, who was man of the match for their senior team. So like, they have a serious team. Stephen Tobin as well has started on Tipperary seniors as well in the Munster Championship this year. Intriguing enough, Clare have no under 20s kind of starting or even on the 24, I'd say, at the minute. Whereas, you know, Tipperary, there'll probably be conversations, you know, between Brendan Cummins and Liam Cahill about these guys with such a big senior match coming up at the weekend as well. And from the players' point of view, are they going to have one eye in that game? You know, I know Oisin Donoghue is captain of the 20s, so he's kind of, you know, in a spot where he has to give his all for the 20s, you'd imagine. So look, it's just one of the subplots in it. Intriguingly enough, when they met in the round robin game in Thurles, Tip were up 7 points with 2 minutes left, and Clare scored 2-2 in injury time to kind of snatch a win there. So Tip will be kind of hurting after that one. Clare going to be hurting after last year's Munster final. So it's live on TG Carr on Wednesday night, and if the semi-final with Cork is anything to go by, I think we could be in for a treat. This could be a real cracking game.
Absolutely. Walter, get you in there, I suppose. What are you looking forward to in this Clare and Tip game?
Yeah, I haven't. Look, to be honest, I haven't seen a whole lot of the under-20 championship in Munster, but some of the players you're mentioning there, the likes of O'Donoghue and Tobin playing with Tipperary, they look strong and they're going to be hard to stop. But from what Rory's after saying there, like, Clare seem to be finishing well, and that's a good sign of a team. They must be incredibly fit as well. Like, if you think they scored 1-6 without reply against Cork, and then 2-2 against Tipperary in the closing stages. So like, I think this game it sounds like it's going down right down to the wire. And look, I hope Clare beat Tip. Tip are kind of neighbouring a lot of us there, so we all want to see him bet. But so we'll go. I'm going to go with Clare winning this one.
Thanks, look, I think Clare are very battle hardened as well. And what impressed me with Clare is, they lost 4 points to Cork 2 weeks ago. Last week they go down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh again and win by 6. I think it shows an awful lot of character and resilience, particularly in that Clare side. Not to say that Tipperary don't have that in abundance as well, because they had tight wins, particularly against Cork and also against Waterford as well. So look, probably going to take extra time here, because these two always do have some dramatic storylines between them. So look, I think fortune favours the brave, and maybe it's Clare's turn this year to win Munster anyway, but I think it'll be an intriguing game and well worth watching in TG4. I suppose, guys, we haven't even mentioned Joe McDonagh, but that'll be for another week. But we'll wrap it up there, I suppose. Many thanks to Walter Walsh for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck with the club this year, Walter, and everything else. And Rory, thanks for joining as well. I suppose next week we'll look at these round 4 games. We'll see if Leinster is as wide open as we think it will be. And also Munster as well, round 4 as well. I think we should have a few decisions in Munster in terms of top 3. Also, we'll look at Joe McDonagh and also the under-20s as well. Until then, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll chat next week.
Cheers, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you liked what you heard in this podcast, why not subscribe to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast on either Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, or Twitter platforms. You can also follow me at Hawkeye Sidekick on Facebook and Twitter for the latest sporting opinions, articles, and reports.